Somebody deleted every photo, every single one. And by the time anyone noticed, the person responsible was already sitting across from the man she built an empire with, whispering the one sentence that turns a decade of devotion into dust. Pay close attention. What I am about to lay out is not recycled headlines. This is a reconstruction, piece by piece, pulled from insider testimony, digital forensics, behavioral anomalies, and backchannel whispers ricocheting through industry circles for weeks. By the end of this, you will understand exactly what fractured between Rihanna and Asap Rocky behind the walls of the most envied relationship in modern entertainment. And the part that will haunt you longest, the threat did not arrive from outside. No scandal, no third party. The fracture originated from somewhere far more terrifying. It grew in the quiet, in the unspoken, in the thousand tiny distances two people accumulate when they convince themselves that proximity equals connection and sharing a roof means sharing a life. This one is going to rearrange everything you thought you knew about this couple. And I promise you, by the halfway mark of this story, you will never look at a single one of their photos the same way again. Before I take you inside that room, let me show you the wreckage. Because the aftermath hit the public before anyone understood what caused it. And working backward from the damage is the only way to appreciate how deep this goes. Early April 2026. Paparazzi caught Robin Finney in Los Angeles looking unrecognizable from the untouchable icon the world memorized. No couture, no razor-sharp glam. Buried inside an oversized hoodie. Sunglasses massive enough to conceal entire chapters of pain. Head angled toward pavement like gravity had formed an alliance with grief to pull her physically downward. Not long after, Rocky Mayer surfaced near a recording studio in a state that shocked veteran photographers. No signature jewelry. Wrinkled everything. The hollowed-out expression of a man arguing with silence and losing badly. Then the internet became a courtroom. Reddit's FOMO launched a forensic audit. Rocky had ghosted every Rihanna-related post for 3 consecutive weeks. No likes, no comments. Digital silence from a man who historically cannot resist hyping the mother of his children. An even more damning discovery. She had quietly removed his custom birthday ring from recent photos and appearances. Not dramatic. Surgical. The kind of removal that screams deliberate intention to anyone paying close enough attention. Hold that thought, because I know what you were thinking. But we are nowhere near the detonation point. Not even close. I need to rewind the tape completely first. January 2026. Paris. Rihanna and Rocky photographed looking like the cover of a romance novel the universe ghost wrote. Custom couture on her. Effortless Harlem cool on him. Images went nuclear. Comment sections became shrines. Then February hit, and she detonated the internet by materializing unannounced at Rocky's AWG Fall/Winter 2026 show during New York Fashion Week. Entered that venue like she purchased the building walking in. He lit up across the room. They exchanged that look. The silent conversation between two people who have memorized each other so deeply language becomes redundant. Flawless. Impenetrable. Eternal. At least, that is what every single person watching believed with absolute certainty. Except here is the uncomfortable revelation about perfection. The most convincing armor is always worn by those bleeding hardest underneath. Multiple sources embedded within their inner orbit have now confirmed that behind those cinematic public moments, a fundamentally different reality had been quietly decomposing for longer than anyone on the outside could have possibly suspected. Not an explosion. Something far more insidious. Gradual emotional withdrawal operating like carbon monoxide. Invisible. Odorless. By the time symptoms appear, damage has reached critical mass. Insiders describe Rihanna carrying a growing disconnection for weeks, possibly months. Not one event, not one argument. Accumulated over time like sediment. A relentless drip of feeling invisible beside the one person whose gaze she needed most. The cruelest dimension. She could not pinpoint when the erosion started. Like determining the exact moment a coastline retreats into the ocean. You only notice when the ground you stood on is already gone. Here is a perspective nobody is exploring, and it might be the most critical angle in this entire story. There is a psychological phenomenon affecting people at the absolute peak of public adoration. When the world declares your relationship perfection incarnate, Admitting internally that reality does not match projection becomes almost impossible. The public narrative becomes a prison. You protect the myth at the expense of truth. Both of them, according to sources, had been doing exactly that for months, performing the fairy tale with flawless precision while the actual story bled out underneath. Every red carpet appearance was both genuine affection and elaborate camouflage. Every viral family photo was simultaneously real love and a shield against admitting that real love might not be enough to keep the machinery running. I need to pause. Most people overlook something essential about this woman while crowning her a business titan. Robin Finney processes the world at an emotional frequency most humans cannot access. She reads silence the way scholars interpret ancient texts. When she stops speaking, it is never emptiness. She has calculated that the truth behind her teeth might heal or annihilate, and she is running probability on which outcome is likelier. By late March 2026, she concluded that continued silence was inflicting more destruction than any spoken truth could. So let us enter the room. And I need you to picture this with every sensory detail you can summon. March 28th. Their private estate. Sprawling. Immaculate. 3 children asleep upstairs. RZA, Riot Rose, and baby Rocky Irish, who arrived 6 months prior in September 2025, adding more joy and substantially more weight to an already overflowing existence. No staff, no handlers, no publicists, just 2 people and the emotional canyon stretching between them like a divide neither had figured out how to bridge. But wait, before I tell you what she said, I need you to understand what was happening in Rocky's world that evening. Because the contrast between his headspace and hers is absolutely essential to grasping why what followed devastated him so completely. He was riding a genuine wave, creatively energized from studio sessions reconnecting him with the artist he was before legal machinery tried to grind him down. His felony assault acquittal in February 2025 dissolved years of suffocating pressure. Then a development most outlets barely covered. Asap Rocky officially dropped the civil assault lawsuit in November 2025, telling media he was ready to move on. That legal shadow following Rocky for years had finally dissipated. A defamation countersuit remained active, but the existential threat was gone. For perhaps the first time in half a decade, the future felt like something to chase rather than brace against. He was building, planning, breathing freely for the first time in years. He was absolutely not prepared for the woman sitting quietly on the other side of that room. Her silence was loaded, pressurized, not her usual contemplative stillness. The atmospheric equivalent of oxygen being replaced by something combustible. He tried breaking through. A joke, a reference from their day, the familiar rhythm of playful banter. She gave nothing, no engagement. She was trapped in deliberation, wrestling with words rehearsed privately for far longer than anyone suspected. Then she locked her gaze onto his with the specific intensity only Rihanna possesses, carrying the weight of someone who has decided the next sentence reshapes everything, and delivered 5 words. "We need to talk, Rakim." Let that land. Those 5 words have toppled more partnerships throughout history than infidelity ever has. Every source confirms the delivery carried gravity far beyond a routine check-in. This was existential, about the very foundation beneath everything they constructed. Rocky felt the shift instantly. Posture stiffened, jaw locked, eyes sharpened with the primal alertness that comes from sensing danger before it fully reveals its shape. What followed was not a single grenade. It was an unraveling. Slow, devastating, emotionally raw. A confession she had been holding compressed inside her chest like pressure building behind a dam that everyone forgot to inspect. She told him she had lost confidence in their trajectory. Not hatred, not accusation. Something more terrifying because it left no villain to blame. She described 2 celestial bodies in the same system spiraling further apart with each orbit. Conversations abandoned too many times. Authentic feelings swallowed to preserve equilibrium. Energy hemorrhaging into commercial empires, legal battles, career machinery, and the insatiable appetite of fame. She went deeper, admitted performing a version of herself longer than she cared to acknowledge. The unbreakable partner, the anchor who never drifts. Exhausted beyond the physical, though that was real too. having given birth barely 6 months prior, while navigating finny beauty pressures amid reports LVMH was exploring a sale of its entire 50% stake in a brand generating roughly $450 million annually. Emotionally depleted, spiritually running on reserves near empty. Tired of manufacturing radiance for cameras when her interior landscape carried geological weight. Tired of constructing picture-perfect family content for platforms that consume authenticity and convert it into metrics benefiting everyone except the people living those moments. Then the line that reportedly broke him completely. She looked at the father of her 3 children, the man who declared her irreplaceable on global stages, and with tears forming whispered, "I do not know if I can keep doing this the way we have been doing it." Let me be surgically precise about what followed. When I describe him as shattered, I am speaking exclusively about emotional devastation. Zero aggression. What witnesses describe is the rawest form of psychological collapse. Terror. Blindsided incomprehension. Watching the most important person in his existence announce the ground beneath everything might be dissolving. Pacing. Hands cycling through braids compulsively. Voice oscillating between desperate volume and fractured whispers. Where did this originate? When did the feeling start? What signal did he miss? Sentences started and abandoned. The specific kind of cognitive chaos that only erupts when someone comprehends in real time that the single thing they value above absolutely everything else on this earth is actively slipping through their fingers, and they have no idea how to stop it. And the detail making this unbearably human. Rihanna was not cold. Tears tracked silently down her own face, watching him fracture under truths she could no longer carry alone. A woman who chose the devastating honesty of exposure over the slow-acting venom of comfortable pretending. And witnessing his agony up close was destroying her in perfectly symmetrical measure. This was 2 people breaking simultaneously from opposite ends of the same truth. To comprehend why this detonated his foundation, you need the architecture of his history. Rakim Athalaston Mayers emerged from Harlem through conditions that statistically eliminate most people before adulthood even grants them a fighting chance. Gun violence claimed his brother Ricky when Rakim was 13, a wound the public has never fully grasped. His father cycled through incarceration on narcotics charges. Stretches in homeless shelters punctuated his childhood. Music and an almost supernatural magnetism were the only lifelines tethering him to any hope of a different existence. When Live, Love.asap surfaced in 2011, it executed an escape from an environment designed to consume him. Fame built walls as effectively as poverty had. The impeccably styled, chronically uncommitted prince of hip-hop. Kendall Jenner, Iggy Azalea, Chanel Iman. A rotating gallery occupying time without filling the void. Through every chapter, one woman made Lord Flacco genuinely nervous. One name cracked his carefully maintained composure every single time it entered a conversation. Their orbit traces to the 2012 VMA performance for the Cockiness remix. Chemistry so electric it became an instant cultural moment still referenced today. She starred in his fashion killer visual the next year, literally casting the woman of his actual dreams as his fictional one because the boundary between those realities had dissolved. But timing conspired against them. She navigated chapters with Drake and billionaire Hassan Jameel. He moved through parallel entanglements. For years they occupied an excruciating limbo between profound friendship and something far more seismic. Close enough to feel the constant magnetic pull, but perpetually unable to close the final distance. Then, 2020. The pandemic silenced everything, and in that stillness, something ancient crystallized. Rocky's mother, Renee Black, had insisted for years Rihanna was his destiny. When industry noise evaporated, he finally heard her. The legendary American road trip in a tour bus. Stripped of entourages, cameras, and the performative armor fame demands. Just Rakim and Robin navigating empty highways, talking for hours upon hours, falling into a love that had been patiently rehearsing in the wings for an entire decade. His GQ testimony in 2021, calling her the love of his life, declaring she amounted to 1,000,000 of anyone else on this planet, was not performance. It was conviction spoken aloud under the oath of his own heart. Then the crescendo, RZA in 2022. Riot rose after. That legendary Harlem pregnancy reveal, Rihanna luminous in vintage pink Chanel with snow swirling on the streets that once tried to destroy him. A man returning to his origin with the woman who made survival worthwhile, declaring to the cosmos, "Witness what I endured to build this. Witness who chose to build it beside me." So when she spoke those words about love potentially not being sufficient, she was not simply questioning a relationship. They pulled the central support beam from the structure holding together his identity as partner, father, and survivor. But here is where this situation collides with a chaos layer that transforms personal heartbreak into something exponentially more volatile. And I have not mentioned the single most terrifying event in this timeline. Rewind to March 8th, 2026. 20 days before that conversation, a 35-year-old woman named Ivana Ortiz allegedly drove to their Beverly Hills residence and discharged a semi-automatic firearm at least 10 times into the property. Rihanna, Rocky, and all 3 children, including 7-month-old Rocky, were inside. 10 bullets. 3 babies in the house. The youngest barely 7 months alive on this planet. The DA charged Ortiz with 1 count of attempted murder and 10 felony counts of assault with a semi-automatic weapon. The suspect had reportedly driven directly to their home with the firearm. 20 days before the emotional reckoning, they were processing the harrowing reality that someone had attempted to end their lives while their children slept under that very roof. Stack every pressure layer. A shooting at their home. LVMH potentially exiting Fenty Beauty. The deafening global demand for R9 inflamed when Rihanna posted studio footage in February 2026. Motherhood to 3 children under 4. Psychological residue from Rocky's legal gauntlet that no acquittal erases. 2 extraordinarily pressured humans attempting genuine intimacy while the planet dissects their existence at maximum magnification. Something was going to fracture. What fractured was the element they guarded most fiercely, their private emotional bridge. They evolved from partners who discussed anything into partners addressing everything except what mattered. Efficient co-parents. Strategic allies. But the raw intimacy born on that tour bus was evaporating. Not because they stopped caring. Because life grew so impossibly loud they could no longer hear each other whispering. Now the digital wildfire. Because in 2026, private devastation survives approximately 48 hours before the internet converts it into content. A verified industry figure dropped a blind item on Instagram Live so thinly coated it functioned as direct address. Massive A-list hip-hop couple, mogul and New York rapper. Devastating emotional confrontation. No cheating, pure exhaustion. One fighting for reconciliation, the other retreating. X erupted. One post exceeding 200,000 engagements declared that if Rocky fumbled Rihanna after manifesting her for 10 years, romantic hope should be discontinued for all men. Counter-narrative mobilized. Stop blaming a man when a woman carrying 3 children and a billion-dollar empire reached the limit of what one human absorbs. The Navy activated with military coordination, flooding timelines with defense posts, counter-arguments, and organized hashtag campaigns. Rocky transformed overnight from beloved supportive partner to a man under microscopic public prosecution. A man who spent a decade proving himself worthy of Rihanna now stood trial in the court of public opinion with 0 representation and 0 ability to present his side. Because the digital ecosystem possesses infinite memory and 0 mercy, a certain Toronto artist's fanbase seized the opening. Archival lyrics resurfaced. Memes multiplied. His most yearning bars recirculated with commentary suggesting prophetic vindication. Petty, corrosive, proof that celebrity heartbreak is always somebody else's engagement content. Then April 1st, a fabricated post on X claiming Rocky cheated went volcanic. Over 1 million views in hours. Entirely manufactured. No credible source confirmed infidelity. But misinformation travels at light speed while corrections walk. For several chaotic days, the fabrication merged with legitimate emotional concerns to create an information landscape where distinguishing fact from fiction became nearly impossible for anyone following casually. Behind the curtain, damage control allegedly ran at emergency capacity. Management in around-the-clock sessions. Orchestrated appearances. Positive story placements. But here is a truth the entertainment industry still refuses to learn. You cannot engineer your way out of genuine emotional depletion. You cannot spin exhaustion into strength. Every unguarded photograph and every conspicuous digital absence broadcasts the authentic story with more devastating clarity than any publicist's carefully constructed statement ever could. One underexplored dimension adds complexity. Rumors about a relationship contract allegedly valued near $500 million. Unconfirmed. But the whispers illuminate financial entanglement at a scale where relational crisis extends far beyond emotion into legal and structural territory most people cannot fathom. Now here is where this story executes a turn nobody anticipated. April 4th, 2026. Paris. Rihanna and Asap Rocky photographed arriving together at Sienna restaurant with their entire family. Together, arm in arm, less than 1 week after the internet drafted their separation documents. She looked present. He looked attentive. Body language communicating something that defied every catastrophic narrative the digital world had spent weeks constructing brick by brick. Whatever was happening between these two people, it was clearly more nuanced than the binary dead or alive framing the internet demanded. Does that erase everything? Absolutely not. But it demands intellectual honesty. The March 28th confrontation, according to every source consulted, genuinely occurred. Her feelings were authentic. But crisis is not automatically conclusion. Sometimes the most necessary conversations sound like endings, but function as the painful foundation of actual repair. Latest intelligence. Rocky has committed everything toward reconstruction. Therapeutic support engaged. Calendar restructured to prioritize presence over productivity. Fighting for the singular element, giving his life its deepest meaning with everything left in the tank. Rihanna occupies a deeply contemplative space. No departure preparations. No legal machinery. But she is not fully re-engaged with the emotional center either. Suspended between the gravitational pull of love and the fierce self-protective instinct forged through a lifetime of learning that choosing herself is not selfishness, but survival refined through fire. The weeks ahead carry seismic weight. Every appearance decoded. Every post analyzed. Every photograph treated as evidence in a trial the public appointed itself to adjudicate. The cruelest paradox. The scrutiny consuming their every move might be the force making genuine healing impossible. How do you reconstruct intimacy when millions of faces press against the glass, scoring every gesture in real time? This transcends celebrity gossip. A profoundly human reckoning with the limits of love under pressures no relationship was designed to withstand. The cost of total visibility. The weight of expectation. The terrifying moment of clarity that descends when two people who appear to possess everything confront the shattering possibility that everything they accumulated might not include the one essential ingredient that actually sustains a life worth living. Connection. Real, unglamorous, unperformable connection. This story is not resolved. In many ways, the most critical chapter may only be beginning. Drop your assessment in the comments immediately. Can this foundation be repaired, or has damage progressed beyond restoration? Is the internet overreacting to a survivable reckoning, or does the evidence point towards something irreversible? Give me your honest read on this situation. Choose a position and defend it. Subscribe and activate every single notification because this situation evolves at a velocity that severely punishes anyone who looks away for even a moment. Tap the screen left for our complete investigation into the Beverly Hills shooting and its psychological aftermath on this family. Tap right for the definitive chronicle of Rihanna's evolution through love, loss, and reinvention across every chapter of her extraordinary life. Stay locked in, stay skeptical, stay absolutely relentless, and I will meet you in the next one. Peace.